2. Hello? Now you can hear me. Okay. Alright. This is why I always ask when I need to do my volume stuff. Hello? Alright, we're good. We're good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shootin The Shit! Episode number 2. I promise I'll work on that. Welcome, I'm Hakeem Johnson, your host as always, and as you know, this is Shootin The Shit number 2. That means it is different from a new episode of the Newscast that we usually do. It's basically you running the show in the live chat. You can ask any wrestling-related questions you would like for me to answer, and something tells me that you're going to have a lot of questions you would like to ask me, so we will get to that in a second. If you do want to post your questions on the chat, you can do so right now. Formulate whatever questions that you would like to post in the chat, as always. But as I give you time to formulate questions, I do want to address something that is outside of the newscast, I guess, for some of you. As you all know, I do run ACW, Anime Championship Wrestling, my CAW anime-centric league, and I made some noise about it. I believe it was October 8th. Yes, October 8th, Friday, October 8th, 5 p.m. Pacific. ACW High Voltage, the long-awaited ACW High Voltage, will finally be premiering for all of you. I want to thank everybody for being patient and for being understanding for us trying to get it this late. I know that I've wanted to get this out prior, but just time wasn't on my side, among other things. But yes, mark it down. Friday, October 8th, 5 p.m. Pacific here on YouTube on the Anime Championship Wrestling the Anime Championship Wrestling Mega Events channel. ACW High Voltage is finally coming to fruition. I am 95% complete on it, so you will get that show on that date, come hell or high water. So there's that. But yeah, let's get to some questions. What a week for professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. What a week. I have my own thoughts that I will keep to myself. For the newscast next week, there'll be a new episode of the newscast next week. Not this week, but yeah, let's get some questions already here. So let those questions fly on the live chat, ladies and gentlemen. You can ask as many questions as you would like. Once again, the Shootin The Shit episodes, they can go 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, maybe even 2 hours. Like I said, the live chat runs this show. So you guys get to decide how long we'll be in here for the duration of this episode. So be that as that may, let's get into it. So let's see here. I do have one question here, so I'll go ahead and start. What other top-level WWE talent do you think might jump ship to AEW? Well, that is the question, isn't it? That is the big question that a lot of fans are asking as of late in relations to AEW. Well, if you haven't been paying attention, there's been rumors that Kevin Owens may be jumping to AEW next year when his contract is up on January. And I do have a strong belief that Kevin Owens is likely jumping to AEW next year. Not even with the hints that he's been posting on Twitter, but he's basically, if you read between the lines of his latest tweets, he's basically telling you that it's coming. And I think it's pretty much, a natural fit. I mean, his friends are there. You've got the Bucks and Adam Cole, who used to be forming as Mount Rushmore back in PWG. So, I mean, it would be a hard fit. And plus, we would get Kevin Steen. Fuck all this Kevin Owens shit. We're getting kill Steen kill Kevin Steen. Can you imagine that guy in an AEW environment? All I want is a kill Steen kill Kevin Steen versus a grizzled, bitter, chip on his shoulder CM Punk on AEW television. That is a feud I would love to see on Dynamite, Rampage, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. But I do see Kevin Owens making the jump. Who else would I see? I mean, there's been rumors of Johnny Gargano. I'm not really for Johnny jumping myself. I'm not really a Gargano guy like that, but people seem to think that he might jump too. Considering that WWE Japan shut down this week, I'd like to see Kairi Sane, the former Kairi Hojo, finally make the jump to AEW. Kenny Omega has not made it shy whatsoever that Kairi Hojo was his number one draft pick, quote unquote, if you will, in terms of bringing her into AEW. So I could see that. Who else could I see, honestly? Who else? Because you got to understand, AEW can't take everybody, right? AEW can't take every talent that would jump from WWE to AEW. I believe Dave Meltzer on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio even acknowledged that AEW has actually been passing on a lot of talent that are free agents right now, one of them including Buddy Murphy, which I understand because I like Buddy Murphy. I think he's a great talent. I think he's an exceptional talent. But I feel like a Buddy Murphy, or now I guess Buddy Matthews, would be more suited for other promotions, to where he would be more of a central figure than he would be in AEW. I think an Impact would be a perfect fit for him, because you see the Josh Alexanders, the Ace Austins, the Chris Bays, the Steve Macklins, all in Impact. I think he would be that missing piece to really center around Impact to be that exceptional talent. Think of it like AJ back in the days of TNA, when he was the face of that company. I could see that for a guy like Buddy Murphy Matthews. So, there's that. But we'll see. I do believe that we're going to get more WWE talent jumping to AEW. Also, I do believe that you could see AEW talent maybe going to WWE one day. It's going to happen eventually. But I do think that the pipeline from WWE talent to AEW is not over, not by a long shot. Especially after the month of September that AEW has been having. It's going to change a lot of people's perceptions of jumping to AEW. But thank you for that question. Alright, let's get some more questions here. How do you feel about Tommaso Ciampa getting Goldie back finally? I mean, I guess. I mean, it's a former... I mean, look, put it this way. It's a former, NXT champion winning the title. Samoa Joe drops the title, and there's a lot of speculation as to how he dropped it, but be that as that may, well, here comes Champa, a formidable face, a former face of the NXT brand, a face that a lot of fans of the old NXT would prefer and are well known with. Now he's the champion once again. Now keep in mind, Ciampa is basically the transitional champion to get to their real champion that they want to put it on. And it's looking like the Braun Breaker. What a stupid fucking name. But Braun Breaker. Wow, Braun Baker. That'd be crazy. Braun Breaker seems to be the guy that will be the next champion after Champa. Now, stupid name aside, I like Braun Breaker from what I've seen of him. He's obviously a former, football player. I believe he played for the... Did he play for the Vikings? I could be wrong, but be that as that may, he is Rick Steiner's son. His uncle is Scott Steiner, and he looks like a Steiner. He walks like a Steiner. He talks like a Steiner. He wrestles like a Steiner. So, of course, don't mention his wrestling royalty because, the new people, the new fans won't really get to connect with a Steiner if we call him Rex Steiner. Whatever. But I do like Braun Breaker for what it's worth. He's clearly being geared up to be the champion after Champa. And Champa, from this point forward, like a lot of other familiar faces that you guys like from NXT, they're basically going to be there to put over the new talent, whether they are bad or good. So, that is the new NXT, the new NXT 2.0, if you will. So, did you watch Omega versus Bryan Danielson? You goddamn right I watched that match. Are you kidding me? You think I wasn't going to watch that match live? That match ruled. I know a lot of people are trying to act like, oh, well, they have more in the tank, which I do agree with. I think they can have a better match than that if you can believe that. But what a match. What an absolutely phenomenal matchup. Folks, that ain't Daniel Bryan, folks. That was Bryan Danielson you saw last night. That's a Bryan Danielson that looked hungry. That was a Bryan Danielson that looked refreshed and renewed. That was a Bryan Danielson. That was the American Dragon you saw last night. And what a match he had with Kenny Omega. To start off Dynamite Grand Slam, those two going out of the two world-renowned, quote-unquote, best in the world, battling it out in a 30-minute time limit draw. This was a phenomenal matchup. I've watched this match now 2 times after the initial airing. The match is great. The match is phenomenal. I'm not a star ratings guy at all, but Meltzer better be giving out the full 5 stars at the very least for that matchup. I cannot believe that Bryan Danielson has never gotten a 5-star match from Meltzer of all people. That's crazy to me. But it starts this week. You better damn well give that man his 5 stars. That was a phenomenal matchup. Everything worked. The crowd, shout outs to New York last night. They were awesome. They really added to the environment, the ambiance, the atmosphere of that match and that event. Just from the opening bell, they were hyped. And I just cannot say enough. The commentary, I would say, of JR, Tony, and Excalibur, they put it over so well. They were phenomenal as well last night. Kenny Omega was all game. Looked like a part of the cleanup was in that match as well. Don Callis was at ringside. Didn't even get involved, which I was worried that they might do, but they didn't do it. And I'm so thankful that they didn't go down that route. Now, be that as that may, 30-minute draw. I saw people bitching about the draw finish. Shut the fuck up. That was the best finish you could have possibly done. You protect both men while giving the crowd and people watching at home an outstanding matchup, and you set up a rematch for Omega and Danielson down the line. Now, people are asking, when do you do the rematch? Because there's such a high demand for a rematch between Danielson and Omega. Personally, to me, you don't want to be like TNA and have Joe and Angle a dream match at the time, and then you do 3 matches 3 months in a row to where you wear it out and you have the law of diminishing returns. You don't want to do that, and I don't think AEW would. But I don't know how much you can try to keep it off long enough. I saw people saying you want to wait till Double or Nothing next year. I think that's a bit too long. I think, honestly, to me, title or no title, you do Omega and Danielson 2 at Revolution next year at the latest. And if you're going to go down that route, it has to be, in my opinion, an Iron Man match. I think an Iron Man match, the full 60, not even 30 minutes again. A full 60-minute Iron Man match should be something that they should aim for in the rematch, in my opinion. But other than that, I thought it was sexy. I thought this match ruled. I thought this match was everything about wrestling, what it means to be a pro wrestler. It is one of the greatest. It's arguably the greatest match in Dynamite history. It is definitely one of the greatest matches in AEW history. It is a match of the year contender. And AEW has been pulling out some match of the year contenders this year, let alone this month. People forget, you know, we just had the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers in that cage match at All Out a mere 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that match to me is still my AEW match of the year. But I think Danielson and Omega might be tied. I don't know. I might have to go back and watch the cage match again to really compare the two. Because they're so different, but they were so great. So, granted, Omega and Danielson, I do believe we're going to get the rematch. I do believe this is going to be a rivalry that will expand for years within AEW. But you have to be smart about it. You don't want to do it at full gear. I mean, you could, and I won't bitch about it, but you kind of want to give it some breathing room between now and the next match, is what I'm saying. That's what I said about Revolution next year being the event where you can do a second match between the two. And I would think at the time AEW would have a world champion other than Omega by then, whether it be Hangman or whoever. So, that would be a selling point. So, but overall thoughts, I love the match. I love that they started slow, let the crowd really kind of dictate the pace, and then they were going balls deep, going all crazy. That Snapdragon on the LED ramp was nasty. That long-range V-trigger from the ramp to Bryan Danielson, followed by the buckle bomb, was some insane stuff, the likes I've never, ever seen. Danielson busting out the cattle mutilation. I've got till 5. This was pure Bryan Danielson. I know that Daniel Bryan has had some great matches in WWE. I've seen them. So it's not to discredit his Daniel Bryan career. But this ain't Daniel Bryan, folks. This is Bryan Danielson as well. And I think you can tell, and as you guys keep asking, I'm assuming more questions about Arthur Ashe last night. It's what a time to be alive as a professional wrestling fan. Professional wrestling is back in America, ladies and gentlemen. I tweeted that last night, and I will stand by it. America has finally gotten back professional wrestling, and I could not be more happy to be a fan of it. That match absolutely ruled. So, yes, to me, unless they can top it in their next rematch, this is a classic to me. And it will be looked at as a classic. All right, more questions here. Let's see. Let's get some more questions here. You think Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega had a 5-star opening match last night on the AEW Dynamite? I mean, I basically just answered it. Again, I'm not a star ratings guy, but even in knowing what I saw last night, that's at least a 5-star match. I see Meltzer and other people give matches 6 and 7 stars. This can be a 5-star match. Okay? Yeah, it better be at least. So, we'll see about that. But yeah, this was the A+ match. The best match of the night, obviously. And that was no disregard to the rest of the card. I actually did enjoy all the matches in their own way and from last night as well. So, there's that. Alright, what's your opinion on Owen Hart being in the new AEW game? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys were not aware from Monday morning this week, AEW has formed a partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation and Owen Hart's widow, Martha Hart, to allow Owen Hart's likeness and image to be a part of certain approved merchandise and I would assume events for AEW. That includes now as well Owen Hart being a part of the upcoming AEW console game that's being worked on right now. And also, we will be getting a Owen Hart tournament, which they will be awarded a trophy cup called the Owen. I am absolutely happy about that. I think it's been long overdue of Owen Hart finally being recognized for the true wrestler, for the true great man that he was. I have to say this, and I think I've said this about myself when it came to Owen Hart and Martha. Initially, years ago, I bopped the WWE bullshit that I thought Martha was bitter and that she was basically trying to keep Owen away from wrestling fans because she had a vendetta against us and we had nothing to do about it. But then, as you grow over the years and you actually start reading upon other things, and now the Dark Side of the Ring episode of Owen Hart came out a couple of years ago, you start to get a better sense of what Martha comes from. She didn't have an agenda against pro wrestling. it was an agenda against Vince McMahon and the WWE. And I completely understand. I understand Martha now. I was completely wrong. I turned the corner. I completely have changed my mind about it. Under no circumstances should Martha have to succumb herself to go to the WWE, a company that allowed her husband to die. Not on purpose, I guess, but in terms of accidental death, yes. And for Vince McMahon to get a cent of Owen's likeness and name. I don't blame Martha whatsoever. And there's a lot of dumbass people out there on social media that were mad that AEW did a partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation. Like, these people are not well, and I'm sure as we get, closer to certain questions here, I'll talk more about those people, but it's not even an AEW thing, it's a wrestling thing. How, if you are a pro wrestling fan, you hate this news, you hate this deal? If you're a true pro wrestling fan, if you love what Owen brought to the table in a short time that he was here as a wrestler, whether you're a WWE fan or an AEW fan or a New Japan fan or wherever, this was for us. This is great news. We get to finally celebrate Owen Hart for the remarkable talent that he was. And people are trying to turn it into AEW, sticking it to WWE. Which, quite honestly, that might be justified. For sure with Martha, if anything else. So Martha is going to be overseeing a lot of the Owen Hart related stuff when it comes to AEW, as she rightfully should. I have no doubt that AEW will be respectful in the terms of how they use Owen Hart from this point forward. The way they tried to do and still show a lot of goodwill towards Brody Lee and his family. I have no doubt in my mind they'll do the same thing for Owen Hart. I love it. Owen Hart finally back on a video game. It's been 2 decades, I believe, since he's really been in a video game. I love it. I'm glad that Owen Hart's finally going to be celebrated by wrestling fans that want to celebrate him. I wouldn't even be surprised if New Japan does something with Martha Hart down the road to where he gets a recognition for his work within the Super Juniors during his early time in New Japan in the early 90s. So that's very possible. But congratulations to AEW, a big coup for them with this Owen Hart partnership. And I am looking forward to that Owen Hart tournament. If it was me booking that tournament, this would be the Young Lion style tournament. All the talent that are under, I believe, let's say 25 and under. If you're 25 and under in AEW, you should definitely be a part. Let's go 30. If you're under 30, basically. If you're under 30 years old and you haven't won a title in AEW, then you would be a part of that tournament. You would be wrestling in that tournament. So many talent that are young right now in that company that they would do that tournament justice. So I'm looking forward to a lot of this Owen Hart stuff. It really made me happy as a wrestling fan. So kudos to AEW, and obviously goodness bless to Martha Hart for everything that she has contributed for Owen Hart, her husband, and the foundation and wrestling fans now. So good looks on everybody involved. Let's see here. Oh boy. You think Ric Flair and Tommy Dreamer had their controversy after the infamous plane ride from hell on Dark Side of the Ring? Well, I mean, if you look around, obviously. Even before the newscast started, Ric Flair's out here tweeting some bullshit, trying to double down on, Ric Flair, whoever's tweeting for Ric Flair, whether it's Ric himself or his agent or his wife, whoever it is, they're doubling down on this shit, and it's just, to me, it's dumb, because if I am Ric Flair, I would not give this any attention whatsoever. Look, here's what I'm going to say. Everyone knows about Ric Flair. They've heard all the stories about Ric Flair outside of the ring. He comes off as a piece of shit and a dick. That tends to be the way it is in wrestling with a lot of wrestlers in that time period. And hell, even now, quite frankly. Yeah, Ric Flair is a piece of shit for what he did in the plane ride from hell, among other things that he's done in the past. I will say, though, and Tommy Dreamer, I'll get to him in a minute, but I will say, though, that people trying to cancel Ric Flair, And honestly, let me be honest with you, this is not a deal of cancel culture. You know me, I am totally against cancel culture and the after effects that it comes with, because people are just using it as an agenda for whatever bullshit belief they have. But be that as that may, this is not an example of it. Something really did happen wrong and forced somebody to feel traumatic effect after that incident. That's not cancel culture. And Ric Flair should be held accountable for that. Period. I have no doubt in my mind that if this hadn't come out, Ric Flair was likely debuting somehow, some way this week at Arthur Ashe. I do believe that. But after what has transpired, it's the right call for Ric Flair to not come in. I know that Andrade probably was coercing a lot of people in AEW to bring him in, and it would have worked at the time, but clearly no longer the case. But yeah, I don't see... But like what Hulk Hogan did, a few years ago, he was a piece of shit for that too. But the people that tried to, erase him from history, I mean, it's Hulk Hogan. You don't tell the story of wrestling without Hulk Hogan. And it does apply with Ric Flair as well. Granted, again, like I stated, there is no excuse for what they did and said. But we have to be realistic here. Now, I'm not Tommy Dreamer being a dumb fuck and a mark, thinking that he has to defend his hero for doing stupid shit, and then thinking this is a case of cancel culture. I know cancel culture when I see it. This isn't the case. And Tommy Dreamer is a dumbass and a mark for thinking that Ric Flair gives a fuck about his defense. And now he's been suspended indefinitely from Impact Wrestling as a talent and as an executive, and clearly is no longer a part of Busted Open for the time being. Hey, it is what it is. At least he didn't get fired. He did state his opinion, but it was a dumb opinion, and it was a disservice to what the lady was trying to tell us in that whole thing. Now tonight, if it hasn't aired already, Chris Canyon's story is coming out, and Ric Flair will be a centerpiece of that as well. If you haven't been paying attention these couple of years with Canyon, so will the Undertaker. And again, I want to implore everybody: you can be mad at the Undertaker, you can be mad at Ric Flair and condemn them. You should, for what they are going to do or what they're going to say. I'm with you on that. But we need to be realistic that if you think that WWE is no longer gonna, use Taker or an acknowledged Taker, considering he is the centerpiece of that company for decades, you're sadly mistaken. What I would like to tell people that are going to watch that Chris Canyon episode coming up tonight is be happy that Canyon was here on this earth to provide a lot of great things for a lot of wrestling fans, and that from all accounts he was a great person to be a part with and to be along with. And it just sucks that a lot of your heroes that you look up to are pieces of shit, and that applies today. That's why I don't understand a lot of people that try to excuse certain favorites of theirs, but they are quick to jump on Ric Flair and Undertaker. It should be across the board, right? But be that as that may, yeah, consequences are consequences. So, but that being that said, I do think we'll see Ric Flair somewhere at some point. They're just going to calm this down. They're going to keep it calm. They're going to pretend this is like something that'll pass. And it's going to pass, unfortunately. It's going to pass, and we'll move on to the next story. That's just the way social media is, unfortunately. So, Outlaw show in the mud. Can't believe we got dominated in the demo. Yeah, well, let's take a look at this real quick. Here. Let me go ahead and switch gears here. The ratings came out for AEW Grand Slam. AEW Dynamite was watched by over 1.2 million viewers, and there was a .48 demo rating in the 18 to 49, short of Raw's .49 demo this week, ending the 2-week run of Dynamite being ahead of Raw. The third highest Dynamite ever in both viewership and demo, and as well as number one in cable of the demo as well, well ahead of the Real Housewives, which did a .39. The Masked Singer dominated with 4.7 million viewers, with a 1.11 demo on the network, on the broadcast channel Fox. But Dynamite did beat Raw in the male 18 to 49, 434,000 to 419,000, and that was carried by the male 35 to 49 audience. So there you go with that. So look, we got to call it what we see it, right? We got to call it like we see it. Dynamite in the demo did not beat Raw, but they barely lost, right? They barely lost to Raw. And guess what Raw had to do? Raw had to drag